Another great psalm is Psalm 136. It is basically a hymn of praise that is called the Great Hallel. Actually, it is going to look at God's power over nature as the creator and his power to deliver Israel out of Egypt, and then finally how he is the helper, not only of Israel, but also of a universal helper. I'd like to interpret the psalm. I'd like to read the Hebrew and then interpret the psalm verse by verse, and then apply it to the New Testament as a Christian teacher and minister. So we're going to try to understand its original meaning and then application to the New Testament. It begins, Hodu le'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasdo. By the way, there is the call to praise in the first 3 verses, which will then give the reason for praise in verses 4 and following. So give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. And then we're going to have that refrain, which was probably sung by the choir of the Levites, or possibly the congregation, which reads, Ki le'olam chasdo, for his mercy endures forever, or his loving kindness endures forever. Hodu le'Elohei ha'Elohim, that is praise or thanks unto the God of gods, Ki le'olam chasdo, for his mercy or his loyal love endures forever. Hodu le'Adonai ha'Adonim, ki le'olam chasdo. That is, give thanks unto the Lord, and then the refrain, for his loyal love is forever. Ki le'olam chasdo. We then move on from there to the reason for praise, which now will follow. And notice it reads in verse 4, Le'osei niflaot gedolim levado. That is, the one who him alone, or to the one who does wondrous things, great and wondrous things alone, for his loyal love, ki le'olam chasdo, his loyal love is forever. Le'osei hashamayim bitvuna, ki le'olam chasdo. That is, to him who made the heavens with his understanding. And then we have the refrain, Ki le'olam chasdo. We go back here to Genesis 1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. In the beginning, the Lord made the heaven and the earth. And so this would have been sung, praising the Lord as the maker of heaven and with his understanding. But now we also have earth. Verse 6, L'roka ha'aretz al hamayim. The one who spread out or forth the earth upon the waters. In other words, he spread the earth upon the waters, and then the refrain, Ki le'olam chasdo. It's interesting as we look at that in Genesis chapter 1. We're told that the earth, notice, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz, v'ha'aretz hayita tohu v'vohu v'choshek al pnei tahom, v'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim, v'yomer Elohim yehi or, and so forth. Then it goes on to say that God took, and it's almost the symbolism of a hammered out disc, a rakia, and he spreads it, or he places it between the waters above and the waters below. And so this great hymn is referring back to the Rokea, or to the Roka, the one who spread forth the waters, or the earth upon the waters. That is, he slides the disc, the Rakia, between the waters and separates them and creates the heavens and then the earth as well. So notice as we move on, verse 7, Le'oseh orim gedolim, to the one who made great lights. And our mind goes back to Genesis 1 again, that he made the big light and the little light. The big light being the sun, and he's going to talk about that here in a moment. And so he made great lights. Yehi me'orot, let there be light holders. And so the song is referring back to that, Ki le'olam chasto, for his loyal love is forever. And then he begins to define the two great lights. Et ha-shemesh lemimshelet bayom, that is the sun, for ruling by the day, and then ki le'olam chasto, for his loyal love is forever. So the sun is the great light to rule by day. By the way, it's interesting when we look at this and we look at Genesis chapter 1. In the ancient world, Shamash, Shamshu, the Akkadian sun god, was worshipped in Babylon, and Re in Egypt. And here we're singing the song, or the song is being sung as a praise to the Lord, who made the big light, which is the sun. And by the way, depersonalizing the sun is a very interesting concept in Genesis 1. And he uses the word Shemesh here, where in Genesis 1, he just used the word big light and little light. So it's interesting. He's the one who made Shemesh, the sun. And Shamash, the sun god of Babylonian religion, is not the one to worship, but to worship the one who made the Shemesh, the sun, which is simply the big light. And then as we go on, Et hayareach v'chochavim lemimshelet balayla, that is the moon and the stars, lemimshelot balayla, for the ruling in the night. It's interesting. Yareach was also in the ancient world, the moon was worshipped. And it is interesting, and so were the stars, like Ishtar, for example, in Babylonian religion. And I always get amused when I read Genesis 1. It's almost like God created the big light and the little light. And by the way, he threw in the stars as well. And I'm always amazed at that. We're told that there are more stars than all the grains of sand. And that literally blows my mind. And some of the stars are bigger than the sun. And if my memory serves me correctly, they tell us that the earth can fit into the sun, I believe, 1,300,000 times. And so what an amazing song here of worship to Yahweh, who made basically the big light and the little light, the sun and the moon and the stars, reflecting back again to the greatness of God as the creator. Then the hymn moves on to talk about the Lord's deliverance, God's deliverance from Egypt. And this is followed in verses 10 through 15. And notice as we read this text, it says, Lemake Mitzrayim, Biv Horehim, that is, who smote in Egypt their firstborn, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is everlasting. I think the emphasis here is that God delivers his people, and there is a sadness by the way it happened. But God is the great deliverer, ki le'olam chasdo. And then Vayotze Yisrael mitocham, that is, and he brought Israel from their midst. So he delivered Israel on that night after he had judged the land, and he brings them out from their midst. And our mind goes back to the book of Exodus, Elishmot, and how he delivers Israel through the Red Sea in Exodus chapter 15. And that he then goes on to talk about that in detail. Biyad chazakah uvizroa netuya, that is, with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. That is, he delivered them with his strength. Ki le'olam chasdo. And when we read that in the book of Exodus, we see God's strength delivering his people that the psalmist is talking about. And then how he divides the Red Sea. Ki gozer yam suf ligzarim, that is, who divides Yam Suf, the Red Sea, asunder, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is forever. He creates a division between the waters. And it is interesting, just as he did at creation, the God of creation is the God of redemption. And we see that here, and also in the song and in Exodus chapter 15. And then Ve'avir Yisrael b'tocho, and he caused Israel to pass in their midst. That is, he brought Israel through the Red Sea, Yam Suf, ki le'olam chasdo, that is, for his loyal love is forever. Then as we go on, v'nier paro v'chelo b'yam suf, that is, he made Israel to pass through, he overthrew Pharaoh and his host in the Red Sea, ki le'olam chasdo. So as Pharaoh tried to come through, he overthrew them in the Red Sea, and then there is the song, for his loyal love is forever. Lemolik amo bamidbar, that is, he brought his people forth in the desert. Now we're moving from what happened at the Red Sea, Yam Suf, to how he cares for his people in the wilderness. We're reviewing history in this song in 16 to 22. So notice he overthrew his people, he overthrew Pharaoh, and then he led his people, or he caused his people to be led in the wilderness, again, ki le'olam chasdo. Lemake melachim gedolim, that is, to the one who smote great kings, ki le'olam chasdo. His loyal love is forever. And we're looking back again at what happened in the Exodus, and Se'an and Og and so forth. He's going to name them here in a moment. So then we go on in verse 18. Ve'ya'arog melachim hadirim, who smote great kings, ki le'olam chasdo. Looking at that deliverance again, and then he names them. Lesichon melech ha'amori, that is, to Sihon, king of the Amorites, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is forever. Ule'og, melech ha-Bashan, and Og, king of Bashan, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is forever. And he gave their land for an inheritance. V'natan artzam lenachala, he gave their land for an inheritance, ki le'olam chasdo. And then finally it's repeated, nachala le'Yisrael avdo, even an inheritance, and the Israel his servant, ki le'olam chasdo. So after looking at how the Lord led Israel in the wilderness, he then concludes, or this, hymn concludes with how he is Israel's helper, but also the universal helper and provider. In 23 to 36, it reads, Shebes shiflenu zachar lanu, that is, who remembered us in our low estate, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is forever. It's interesting, there's different interpreters here and their reference to what's going on, Jewish interpreters. Rashi, the medieval Jewish commentator, one of the medieval Jewish commentators, understood this to be Egypt. And then we also have another commentator, Jewish commentator, and that is Ibn Ezra, who understands this to refer to the Babylonian exile. And then Hirsch, a Jewish commentator, understands the psalmist having in mind the course of Israel's history and its many periods of being brought low. It is interesting just to review each of these. Rashi was a medieval Jewish commentator from 1040 to 1105, and he comments on the Psalms. Rabbi Shlomo ben Yitzchak, which is where we get Rashi, and then Ibn Ezra, Avraham Ibn Ezra, was from 1092 to 1167, a Bible commentator on the Psalms. And then finally, Hirsch was the chief rabbi, Orthodox rabbi, in the 19th century of German Orthodoxy, also had a commentary on the Psalms. So those were the different viewpoints. Some take it to be a reference to Egypt, like Rashi, others like Ibn Ezra to the Babylonian exile, others more in a general summary term. But again, whichever view one takes, the hymn is celebrating how God remembered Israel in her low estate. But then it goes on, V'yafrekeni mitzarenu, who delivered us from our adversaries, and then ki le'olam chasdo. But then it expands to all flesh. Noten lechem lecho basar, that is, who gives food to all flesh. In other words, a recognition of God's provision for all, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is forever. And then hodu le'el hashemayim, praise or give thanks to the God of the heavens, ki le'olam chasdo, for his loyal love is forever. And as I look at this great hymn, as a Christian interpreter, it is interesting to me that there are several references in the New Testament that to me provide a New Testament, can I say, a hymn of deliverance. First of all, let me say that Jesus talks about how God causes the rain to fall upon the good and the bad and cares for all. So in a sense, he's feeding all humankind. But also in the New Testament, we have been delivered, that is, believers in Christ, out of the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of his beloved Son. And I'm reminded of the book of Colossians, where it reads, speaking of God, chas erusatechimas ektes exousias tus gatus, that is, who rescued us out of the kingdom of darkness, and metestesin eis tein basilean tu huiou tes agapes autou, and who translated us into the kingdom of his beloved Son. And as a result, we are then having redemption, the forgiveness of sins, through his work. It's interesting, we are in ho ekamentain apalutrosin, in whom we are having deliverance or redemption. And Paul applies it in a spiritual way, tain ophosin ton hamartion, the forgiveness of sins. And I'm reminded of how that word redemption is used in the Hebrew scriptures, speaking of what happened at the Exodus. And so we're seeing a parallel situation in the New Testament. And then also, when we had this hymn talking about praise to God as the Creator, I'm reminded of Paul's statement concerning Christ in Colossians 1, who is the image of the invisible God, the sovereign of all creation, the prototokos pases katisaos, because in him, hati en auto ektiste tapanta en tois uranois, in him were created all things in heaven, kaya pites geis, and upon the earth, ta harata, kai ta ahorata, that is unseen, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things, tapanta diautu kai eis autan ektisai, all things have been created through him and unto him. So it's interesting that New Testament gives the same praise to Christ, who is the creator of all things. And a text we've referred to many times, John 1:3, panta diautu agenata kai korisa tu agenata udachen hageganin. All things were made by him, and without him was not made anything that was made. We also have the same application applied in the hymns of Revelation 4 and 5, which would be the early Christian hymns, where we see again the greatness of Christ, who delivers those who believe in him and establishes a kingdom looking forward to an eternal inheritance, a new heaven and a new earth. And out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, he has made them a kingdom to our God and priests, and they shall reign, kai basilusus in epites geis, in 10 of chapter 5. They shall reign upon the earth in a new heaven and a new earth. So again, the New Testament, I believe, has many allusions to the Great Hallel. And so this is a great hymn of Israel's hymn book, and I believe has different allusions in the New Testament that is applied to Christ as also the Creator and Deliverer, especially in Colossians 1 and in the book of Revelation, chapter 5.